Matta here, founder of PT Biz, and today I am really excited to share something with you that I think you're going to really like, which is how you can travel, go on vacation, and not have to pay for it at all. So one of the perks of owning a business and being able to, needing to spend money on things is the fact that we can leverage credit cards to then reward us with points that we can use to do cool things like travel around the country with our family. And you don't necessarily have to have a business to do this. In fact, when I first started getting into this, I didn't have a business. And, I'll tell you, sort of a backstory about how I got into this. But before I do that, I want you to really understand that what I'm going to talk about is something that I think can really make a entrepreneurship fun. It can make it fun for you to be able to share experiences with friends and family, which for me is very important. It's something that I value more and more and more as I get older. And this is a really cool way to be able to share, the ability to travel, which can be very expensive, very cost prohibitive for a lot of people with your friends, your family, or it's yourself and whoever, your significant other or whoever you like to travel with. This is a really cool way to be able to do it and for it to be damn near free in many cases, which is pretty rare. And let me give you a little backstory on how I got into this, and then we're going to go into exactly what I think clinic owners should be doing as far as leveraging credit cards correctly, and some of the drawbacks of this if you do it incorrectly. So when I first got stationed out in Schofield Barracks, which is in Hawaii, I really wanted my family to come out and see us. In particular, my wife has two brothers, and my brother-in-laws are awesome. I'm very close to both of them. We're basically, we're a tight family, and they didn't have any money. They were in college. Their girlfriends at the time, who are now their wives, also wanted to come to Hawaii, and they didn't really have the money to do it either. One of them was working in like consulting. She could have done it, but the rest of them probably not, right? So I also didn't have the money to fly 4 people out to Hawaii from the East Coast, and I didn't know what to do. So I started to kind of look up like, how can you get flights for people, whatever, and I came across airline miles and credit card points, which I knew anything about, right? Like I hadn't really traveled much. I wasn't flying much, but Hawaii's really far from basically everything. And so anytime that we had to go somewhere, we had to fly. So I started looking into it more and more, and I kind of went down the rabbit hole of this. And long story short, I was able to get credit cards, use them effectively, intelligently, not put myself in debt, but use them for day-to-day spending and things that we had, to use bonus sign-up points on cards. And within the course of about 6 months, I had enough points to be able to get 4 flights for Ashley's family members out to Hawaii to see us and back, and I didn't have to pay $1 for it. And this was, to me, like insane. It was unbelievable because it would have been, I don't know, it was somewhere around $3,000 to $4,000 for all these flights, which at the time for me, that was an astronomical amount of money. Like we weren't making a ton of money. I was a lieutenant in the Army. We were living in a very expensive area. And it was just really cool to be able to bring them out and for them to see Hawaii, which we wanted to experience with them. We wanted to show them around this amazing island that we had been so lucky to be stationed at, but yet it was so difficult to get to. And it's so expensive that family and friends we couldn't get them out there very much. So this was the beginnings for me to really dive into this world of credit card points and miles. And one thing that I noticed whenever I was in Hawaii was there's all these business cards, and I didn't have a business. So everything that I had to do was on personal cards. But if you have a business, it is a complete, huge advantage to be able to improve the amount of points you can accumulate in a short period of time. And because we have business expenses that we have to pay for, we can effectively leverage our cards to be able to actually accumulate more points, right? So I'm going to actually go through this. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, I would highly recommend going to the YouTube channel for this, because I'm going to actually go through a training on the actual cards I recommend, examples of hotels and flights you can get, how to transfer these things. This is going to be like pretty in depth. So you can listen to this on the podcast if you'd like, but I would recommend going over to the YouTube channel, go to the PT Biz YouTube channel, and you can see the visual side of this as well as I'm going to go through it. So, okay, let's get started on this. So number one. All right. Credit card points, right? They're one of the best perks that you have for owning a business. And, when we look at using a credit card, there can be a big stigma around this. And I definitely had that. So when I lived in San Antonio, it was right when Ashley and I got married, we went on the Dave Ramsey envelope system. And if anybody knows what that is, it's probably the most extreme way of limiting what you spend and trying to eradicate debt. It is not fun. You basically are putting cash into envelopes and you're using that everywhere you go. It's very, very difficult to do. It's very restrictive. And I mean, you're going to like the grocery store hoping you have enough cash. And if you don't, you're like putting stuff back. That's how restrictive it is. I went from that to then getting like, 8 credit cards when we moved to Hawaii. So I could accumulate all these points and stuff, right? And that's a bit extreme. But the key is that you have to understand, you have to manage this, right? Because you don't want to just get credit cards, put a bunch of spend on it and not pay it off, because then you'll end up in credit card debt, which is actually like the exact opposite of what you want. So you have to understand, like, you have to pay these things off. But in a business, you're paying for things anyway. So when you pay for things, it's much safer to do it on a credit card. There's more insurance. It's not going directly to your debit account. There, you can charge back on things if there's fraudulent charges. There's a lot of insurance that comes with a lot of these as well, which is really interesting. I can talk about some of the use cases with that. But everything that we spend in our businesses goes through a credit card, because for another reason, it's much easier to account for things. If it's all going into one place, we can see them. It categorizes it really well, and it goes straight to the bookkeeper that can then break that up into the different component parts that we're tracking. But this is a really huge advantage because we have to pay for things anyway, right? Like that's the thing. People in their personal life, they have to pay for things, but they also don't want to have they don't have these huge expenses, hopefully, on a monthly basis. Hopefully they have relatively small expenses and they're saving a good bit. But in the business, we have to pay for certain things, and we can accumulate points because of that. So we have business overhead anyway, right? So the ability to have to pay for things no matter what is huge. Also, you have access to business cards, which allows you to then accumulate basically double the amount of cards as you can when you have personal cards. You also have the ability to meet minimum spends through your business, and I'll talk about that, because the way that a lot of these cards work is they say, okay, hey, we'll give you this bonus if you spend this much amount on this card in this duration of time. And it can be a really hard thing to do on the personal side, but on the business side, oftentimes we have like equipment we have to get, or we have to, continue education courses we're paying for staff. We're going on a trip as a business owner to go, do some networking event or something like that. Like, you can time these around that really well, and you can meet these minimum spends pretty easily. Also, you can travel without the massive expense, which I already talked about, which is just huge, right? So these are the big benefits to it. But let's talk about the specifics of this and what the different options are. So you have personal cards. So these are cards that are obviously, they're assigned to you as an individual or your spouse as an individual, which is also something you can do. Let's say that you have, it's you and your spouse. You can get a personal card for each of you. So you can get a personal card for each of you, and then you can get a business card for your business. Your spouse, if your spouse is a owner of that business, they can also get a business card for this. So if there's two of you, you can even double the amount that you can get. And this really helps a lot with bonuses. One other caveat to this: as I started to get into doing this when I was in the Army in Hawaii, I was worried about my credit score going down. And what was ironic about that was the opposite actually happened, because for a short term, the way it works is you do get, like, your credit score gets lowered for a short period of time. But one of the things that goes into your credit score is what's called your credit utilization ratio. So it's how much credit you have available and how much you're actually using. So let's say you have a credit card that has $1,000 balance on it and you have $100 on it at the time, right? So you're using 10% of your available balance. If you have $1,000 available limit and you used $100 of it, so it's a 10% utilization ratio. Well, when I started getting all these cards, I quickly ended up with $50,000 to $60,000 of available credit. And if I was paying it off every single month, my utilization ratio was like off the charts. So that's a big part of your credit score. So quickly, my credit score went from maybe upper 600s, low 700s to well over 800 in the course of about a year. And I actually thought it would go down, but I wasn't looking to buy a house or anything like that anytime soon. But the opposite actually happened. So this is actually, funny enough, one of the better ways to improve your credit score, which is ironic considering you would think that it's the opposite. And it does go down for a period of time, maybe a month or two, and then it just shoots up as your credit utilization ratio expands so much. So anyway, something to keep in mind, because this will actually improve your lendability. This will allow you to get loans for the lowest rates possible, and makes you very, very lendable if you have any sort of personal or business loan that you might ever want to take out, whether that's to buy a car, house, or to expand as a business. Business cards are another way you can earn. These are really powerful because they typically have bonus categories, which I'll get into, which can really accumulate these a lot and can make a meaningful difference for stuff you're going to pay for anyway. And then you have sign-up bonuses. And again, sign-up bonuses are typically tied to you spending money. But one of the things you can do is you can get sign-up bonuses, and you can sort of do this over the year and plan out which cards you want and which miles you're trying to accumulate. And you can get very complex with this, right? I'm not going to get too complex with this, because what I want to do is show you a strategy that a business owner can do that doesn't want this to turn into a part-time job, to where you can really build up a decent amount of credit card points that then you can use for cool stuff like travel, and not have to have 3 spreadsheets tracking everything. Which, if you want to go down the rabbit hole of that, there's plenty of resources on it. Go for it. But it's not something that I have the time to do, and many of you probably don't either. So I'm going to try to keep this pretty simple for an actionable strategy of what you can actually do. So again, there's bonus categories, and these are ongoing, and these are really cool. So okay, let's get into two cards that I really like. And I'm going to say, from a standpoint of which cards are kind of the best from what I've seen for personal and business, I think Chase is the best option. And there's 2 cards. So this one right here, this is the Chase Inc. Preferred card. Okay, so a Chase Inc. Preferred card. The reason that I like this, and if you see here, right, you have a $90,000 bonus that's tied to $8,000 in purchases in the first 3 months, which can be a lot, right? So if you're like, man, how am I going to spend $8,000 in 3 months? Well, you can do that with things that you're going to have to purchase in the business anyway, right? So let's say that you're sending people on Con Ed courses, you're buying some new equipment, maybe you're paying for some sort of consulting. People do this with PT Biz all the time. When they work with us, they'll pay for the work that we do with them on a credit card, and they rack up miles, and they can pay for bonuses like that. It could be any number of things that you're going to do for the business, but you can time it around when you're going to be spending a decent amount of money on something anyway, right? So let's say you're going to add some new equipment to the business, and you're going to, send somebody on to a course. You put all that on your card, and within a couple months, with just regular spend as well, all your utilities, gas for your vehicle, all these things, it can add up pretty quickly. So, but this is where the credit card companies, it's almost like how they get people. So, what they do is, it's like, yeah, we'll give you this if you do this. So if you don't spend $8,000 in this 3-month period, you don't get the bonus, right? So you got to make sure that you have the money to be able to do that. Now, one other thing you can do as well, and I'm not going to link to this directly, you can go to the IRS site to this. So if you have quarterly taxes that you're going to pay, you can actually pay your quarterly taxes with your business card. And I think it's like a 1.75% fee. But if you do the math on it, it's a really small amount of a fee for accumulation of like 90,000 points. I'll show you what you can use that for. So even like worst case scenario, if you want to, hit the bonus category and get the introductory bonus, you could actually pay your taxes with that. And if you go to the IRS website, they actually have two companies that they work with directly that they link to that are their partners for paying taxes with a credit card. So you can actually get the bonus just by paying your taxes, which you're gonna have to do anyway, right? So what's cool about this is also that you have these bonus categories. So if you look at this. So these bonus categories, right? So they have 3x bonuses on shipping purchases, advertising, internet, cable, phone services, and travel. Okay, this is why I like this card so much. And I'll show you an example of a couple other ones, but for a business owner, keep this in mind, okay? So look, are you gonna pay for cable, internet, phone services to some degree? Absolutely. You're gonna do that every month, right? So you're gonna do that, and whether you like it or not, you have to pay for it. It's just a matter of, do you actually put that on, just like a debit card, or do you put it on a credit card? And the credit card will get you bonuses, right? What about travel? What about if you're going out to a networking event? What if you're going to a continuing education event? What if you're going to do some sort of like business/personal event and you're buying a flight? You get 3 times the points on that. And this is how it starts to add up really quickly for businesses. And it's a really, really cool advantage that these business cards have because you're doing this stuff and it's a write-off for the business, right? So you're doing these things anyway that are going to be expenses for the business, and now you get bonus categories for them. And the one that I like the most is advertising. This is Meta ads, Google ads, whatever type of digital ads you're going to do. The ad spend that you use on these cards has a 3x bonus for every dollar you spend. Let's say that you spend $1,000 on ads a month, which for a very new business, that might be a lot. For a business that is, a mid-sized clinic, a small to mid-sized clinic, that might be what they're spending. I know clinics that are spending $3,000-$4,000 a month on ads. So let's say you're spending $3,000 a month on ads, and you're getting a 3x bonus on that. That means you're going to get 9,000 points a month just for running ads, right? That you're going to do anyway for your business. This is why they can accumulate so fast and why I like these cards so much, because they're really flexible. They have great bonuses and the fee is really low. So if we look at this, the fee on this card is $95, right? So the annual fee is $95 a year, which is nothing compared to the amount of rewards value you're going to get back for this card. I've had this one card now for as long as I can remember, 10 years maybe, something like that, because this is a card that I've used so much, and we do a lot of advertising, we do a lot of travel for our business. We obviously have internet stuff, all kinds of stuff that we have to pay for anyway. So this is why I really, really like this card. This is probably my favorite card for a business owner. So the next one that I would say is there's the Amex Gold card, which Amex points, Chase points is what you're going to accumulate, and I'll show you how you can use those. And people can kind of have their own bias depending on where you live, what airports you're around that are maybe hubs for certain, for certain types of airlines, for certain airline brands, and what you're spending money on. So the cool thing with this one is you actually get a higher bonus category for advertising. So you actually get 4 points per dollar that you spend instead of 3. It's not that meaningful of a difference to me, to be honest with you, because the other thing that's different about this card is the annual fee on this one is actually pretty high. It's $375 versus $95 when it comes to the Chase card. And the other thing, and I'll say for both these cards, one of the cool benefits is actually insurance, especially insurance on rental cars. And I had a direct experience with this, not one that I was looking for, but we took a trip to Salt Lake City, and I'm actually going to go over this example of how we use points to do it in a second. But my family took a trip to go out there on a snowboard trip. I rented a car. I used my my business card because we were out there doing some client work as well. So it was basically bookended, go see a client, spend a couple of days in the middle, some client work, and our CPA group is out there as well. So we were there for a couple different reasons, but I used my business card to rent the car. And while we were parked at the place that we were staying, somebody hit our rental car, just like basically probably just like hit it pulling into the parking spot next to us, but totally dinged the driver's side door up. And with these cards, you have auto protection insurance built in. So you don't actually have to use the rental car's auto insurance. And what's cool about this is even better. All I had to do was basically call the Chase number for their auto claims. I submitted a claim and they paid everything 100%. And I don't know how much it would have cost for this vehicle to get fixed, but it would have been a decent amount. And I still would have had a deductible if I would have gone through the auto insurance for the rental agency. This had zero deductible. So it saved me probably, I don't know, at least $1,000 in a deductible that I would have paid if I would have gone through the insurance in the from the auto agency that was renting the car. Instead, I used Chase, and Chase paid the whole thing off. So really, really cool benefit as well. Hopefully you never have to use it. I didn't think that I would, but somebody hit my car in the middle of the night, and Chase paid for it. So keep that in mind as well. And Amex has something very similar. So both these have benefits, but and you could get a combination of both. It depends what you're looking to do. But for me, I think the Chase card for most people, most clinic owners, this is going to be ideal for you because of the type of activities that we're doing, and the annual fee is really low, right? So if you look at the personal side, so let's talk about that for a second. You can get these exact same cards. Usually on the personal side, it's funny. This annual fee for the personal card here is it's $70 less, $50 less. So it's $325 versus $375. I don't know why, because basically the same card. And the only difference is if you look at these bonus categories, right? So they've got 4X on eating out at restaurants, 4X on groceries, and 3X on flights. Like that can actually add up really fast. If you look at like the amount of money you spend on groceries, just insane sometimes. If you think about it, especially if you have a family with like kids, it's crazy. So anyway, this is where you can get some big bonus categories here as well, which is pretty awesome. So another personal card, which would be the Chase Sapphire personal card. This is another one that's really good because if you can get a personal card and you can get a business card, you can accumulate points really fast, right? So when we look at Chase Sapphire, what's cool about this, again, the annual fee is low and they have a really good bonus. Now, this is a personal card, so you're gonna have to meet this minimum, which is $5,000 in the first 3 months. Now, for you, again, if you can time this around stuff you're going to be paying for anyway. Let's say you're going on a personal vacation and you have flights to pay for, you have a hotel to pay for, something like that. You know, let's say you have some like big furniture purchase or something at your house that you're wanting to do, some upgrade or something like that. This is where you can time this around that and accumulate this $100,000 bonus, which is pretty significant. So if you think about it, if you do, let's say you get a Chase Ink card, okay, and you're getting $90,000 bonus. All right, so you do this on the business side, $90,000. Let's say you do the personal side, you get $100,000 over here, or 100,000 points, not dollars. 100,000 points, 90,000 points, and let's say you sprinkle in some extra, whatever, just stuff that your business is paying for. Easily within a couple months, you're at 200,000 Chase points, which is a lot. And you can do a lot with that, which I'll show you. You can do the same thing with the Amex side as well. But the accumulation of those points over the time that you're using them, let's just say that you put all your personal expenses that you can on a Chase Sapphire card and you put all your business expenses on a Chase Ink card, the business card. By the end of that year, that first year with the bonuses, you could easily have added another 100,000 points on top of the bonuses you have. You could be looking at, 200 to 400,000 Chase points by the end of 1 year. So pretty significant for something you're going to be spending money on anyway, right? If you're going to go buy groceries, you might as well buy groceries with a card that's going to give you bonus points. You might as well, if you're going to go to a restaurant, you might as well use a card that's going to give you bonus points, right? Like these are like basic things. As long as you're paying it off, that's the key. As long as you're paying that card off, that is all that really matters. Like other than that, the only way you can lose is if you don't pay your card off, right? Like that is the easiest way to not want to do this. Like this is a terrible idea. If you're not going to pay your card off, you're just going to accumulate so much in interest fees that it's just going to completely negate and probably put you in the negative as far as using this. But if you can just be, realistically responsible with this and pay your card off every single month, especially on the business side, like it makes such a big difference. And then you can use these points to go and do some really cool stuff. All right. So, let's talk about how to use these. So we talked about why I like these, how to or which cards to get. So whether it's you're going to have the Chase Sapphire card and the Ink card, or you're going to get a personal and a business variation of an Amex card, I think it's best to actually stick to one, honestly, because you're going to accumulate more in that one group, whether it's Chase points or Amex points. So up to you. For me, I mostly do Chase. Chase is the one that I've used forever. I like the partners I can transfer to more. And it just fits like our business and our life a little bit better. And I like that the fees are lower. So anyway, those are the ones that I recommend. Now, let's talk about how to use these, because this is the fun part. Like, just accumulating credit card points, not fun per se, but it is fun to use them. And when we look at the best way to use these, there's a lot of different options. Some people will just get cash back. I don't like that as much because I don't think you get that great of a reimbursement. You're usually going to get 1 cent per point, right? So that's not going to be a great reimbursement. A lot of these you can get, anywhere between 1.5 and maybe 4 cents per point for using it towards maybe a hotel or a flight. And also, it's just way better. Are you kidding me? Wouldn't you rather go on an awesome trip with your family than just get some cash back from a credit card? Like, that's not as fun to me. So I like to use them through transfer partners if possible. Okay. So this is going to be the best reimbursement you're going to get for these cards is if you transfer directly to an actual partner. So if you look at this, there's a few partners that are really good actually, and you'll also get bonus miles sometimes. So here's a good example. So right now, Flying Blue, which is Air France KLM. KLM is like the Netherlands airline. So they fly in and out of Amsterdam a lot. And Flying Blue, Air France. So that's Air France. They primarily obviously fly to and from France. But they have a lot of hubs, especially on the East Coast in the United States. And they actually are like a significant percentage of Air France is owned by Delta. So oftentimes you can actually book Delta flights even through Air France. So it's a pretty good transfer partner. But right now they're doing a 25% bonus transfer. So let's say you transfer 1,000 points, that's going to be 1,250 points instead of 1,000 points, which is actually a significant difference. If you're going to use that, partner to book a flight, which I'll show you one that you can book that I actually have booked for my own family out of Atlanta to fly into France. So the other one that I really like a lot, so I like Flying Blue, and I like United. Southwest is pretty good too if you want to fly regionally. Southwest can be a pretty good reimbursement, very easy to use. United is a really good one to fly, locally as well. And they have some really good international options, great transfer, points. And then Hyatt, as far as hotels go, is my favorite. This is actually maybe my favorite way to use the points is to use them at Hyatt hotels, which there's a whole bunch of different Hyatt hotels that you can use to book these. It just depends what you're trying to do and if flights are more important to you or where you're staying. But these are the two most expensive things whenever you fly places. So if we're going to fly somewhere, like this summer, we're flying to Germany, and go figure, I booked all the flights through points, not just for myself, but for also family members, which, caveat real quick, one of my favorite ways to use points is not for myself. It's literally for me to be able to fly my family members, set my family members up in awesome hotels in places that they probably couldn't afford to fly, maybe themselves, or it'd be like challenging for them to do. And for me to use points to be able to, bring them with us when we're going different places and to be able to share that experience is so freaking cool. It's the best. And, that is something to keep in mind. Like, what do you value, right? Like, one of the reasons that I like doing this with our business and personally is because I've now had quite a few trips with family and friends that I was able to just be like, dude, don't even worry about it. I got all these points. And it's sometimes if you say you're going to pay for something for family, they might not want you to do that, or they might feel weird about that. But for some reason, just because it's points, it's not real money, I guess. People are all about it. They're like, oh shit, he's got a bunch of points. Let's go, right? Like, I've taken my family on tons of trips and I continue to do so. using points because it's just such a cool way for me to share experiences around the world and all around the US and stuff with my friends and family who may not actually be able to afford to travel like that because it is very expensive. Like travel is a very expensive thing. And it's actually frustrating because I feel like travel is one of the greatest ways of educating yourself about the world and how other people do things. And anybody that I've ever met that's traveled a decent amount and actually experienced other cultures, they're just like they're more well-rounded. They have respect for the fact that other people might not do things the way that we do things, and that's okay. And sometimes there's like better ways of doing stuff or ways that we do things that we appreciate more. But you don't get that perspective if you never see it, you know? And that's what I like so much about travel, and especially being able to expose friends, family, and stuff like that to be able to travel with us without them feeling the financial burden of like having to try to afford that. And sometimes it can be very expensive. So, when we look at this, like these are the categories, the partners that I like to use a lot because they're, for where I live, in the Atlanta area, it's a good reimbursement for me because of the airlines that fly out of here and the partners that are associated with those. So Delta's a big one here. Air France has a big one here. Southwest, easily I can get in and out with that. United's a little bit trickier, but they have some pretty decent stuff if I'm flying like, around the East Coast or up into the Midwest. So it just kind of depends on where you're going. And I'll show you some examples of this stuff. But you always want to make sure you book on partner airlines. So here's a really important key. I do not you can book through Chase or Amex, and they have their own travel website. Here's the problem with that. If you do that, typically the points reimbursement is not as good. If anything happens, you have to deal with the credit card company, and then they deal with the airline. You can't call the airline. You can't call the hotel. This happened recently whenever I was on a trip in January. We had some bad weather. We needed to move our flights around. One of our partners had booked his flight through I think it was Chase or Amex portal, and it took him forever to get this thing changed. And he was lucky that he did because he had to actually deal with the credit card company, and then they had to deal with the airline, and it was back and forth, and it took forever. It was a huge mess. Versus for me, I just call the airline and we're good, right? Or you call the hotel you booked with and you're good. So it's a better way to go. So I recommend don't go through the actual bank or the card website, but actually go to the partners. So what you have to do is you actually have to transfer points here. So all you have to do is set up an account with each of them, right? So you're gonna have to set up an account with Hyatt if that's what you want to use. Set up an account with Air France, with Flying Blue, with Southwest, whatever it is you want to do. And all you have to do is just basically set up a frequent flyer or a frequent stay like hotel account with them. It doesn't cost any money, but it's what they use to track whether you're at the hotel or not, right? So like a frequent flyer number on a airline. That's what you need in order to book flights with that partner. So it doesn't take any time. It's easy. You just transfer directly to your account and then it shows up and then you can use it to book flights. So I'm going to show you a couple examples of what you can do with these, okay? So remember, we use the example of, let's say you just get bonus categories and just use it for just sort of general business stuff. Let's just say you have the first year. So let's say you get 100,000 points for a personal card. I'm just going to assume this is just you. Let's say you get 100,000 points for a personal card, 100,000 points for a business card. And then over the course of that year, between personal and business spend, let's say you accumulate another 50,000 points, right? So you're sitting at 250,000 points that you have to be able to do whatever it is that you want, as far as travel is concerned, which I recommend you use it for that. So let's say you want to go on a snowboard trip in January from Atlanta to Salt Lake City. Okay. So I pulled up two examples. So this would be leaving Thursday, January 8th, 2026, so next year, and coming back on, let's call it Sunday or Monday of that following week. So you're there for a few days, whatever, kind of a quick snowboard trip, but just as an example of getting out there. So if we look at United, let's say you want to fly from, let's say you're in DC. So this is out of Dulles. So if you're out of DC and you want to fly out to Salt Lake City, it's going to cost you 15,000 points. That's one direction. So getting back is another 15 usually. It depends on the day. But let's say 15 each direction, plus you're going to have a $5.60 fee for whatever. I'm not sure what that's for. But let's call it 30,000 points. So one round trip flight from DC to Salt Lake and back, and this is a direct flight, by the way, so that's a pretty convenient flight. That's going to cost you 30,000 points. Okay, so let's just put this down here. We'll keep track of this. All right, so you got 30K points here. If you want to go with Delta, let's say you're flying from Atlanta to Salt Lake City, this is actually going to be a little bit more expensive. This is going to be 34,000 points. And the way Delta does it is that's basically showing you round trip for the most part. So this is going to be 34,000 points, 35,000 points. So let's just call it around 30,000 points. Okay, so the flight is going to cost you 30,000 points. You can look at these from any number of, other whatever starting places that you want. If you're around a bigger airport, it's going to be easier, obviously, than if you're in like a small airport. So, you might want to like drive to a bigger airport if you're going to do something like this, because you should be able to get better points reimbursement if you're going to fly versus trying to fly at a really small airport might be harder. So let's just say 30,000 points for this. If you want to bring two, you and a spouse, all right? So, okay, times 2 equals, let's call it 60K. All right, so 60K points. You can also look up what these flights would cost, right? So if you look at these flights during what is snowboard season, they'll be pretty expensive. And I'll show you an example of another flight where I actually pulled the number. So let's just call it 60,000 points. Now, let's say that you want to stay at a hotel. So these are two pretty cool hotels. One of these, this is in Park City. So this is Deer Valley. So this one is 20,000 or 29,000 points per night. And if you look at what it actually would cost, so if you look at this, it would be $622, not including any fees, right? So that's taxes and fees and all this other stuff. If you added taxes and fees into this, it's probably going to be closer to like $700 a night. So if you look at the points reimbursement for this, it's really good. I mean, you're getting close to like 2.5 cents per point that you actually are using. So the way you look at that is if it's costing me 29,000 points, and let's just say it's $622 like it's showing right here. So this is what it would cost you. Then you're getting a little over 2 cents per point, right? Which is really awesome considering, if you just got cash back, you get 1 cent per point. Now, if I look at another hotel, which this would be like staying like on the mountain, I believe is where this hotel is, probably within walking distance, if not to a gondola. If you wanted to stay somewhere that is not as many points, which is, totally fair because you don't have to go very far. This hotel, I know exactly where this one is. We stayed right next to it. This is in Park City, and it's easily drivable to Park City or to Canyons, I think is the name of the other mountain. And you could get out there. And again, this is during a busy season, right? So this would be 18,000 points or $439,000. So again, this would be 18,000 points or $439,000. So let's say that you're going to do this and you have, let's see, if you come in Thursday, Friday, Saturday, leave Sunday. So you got 18,000 times 3 points. It's going to be 54,000 points for you to stay 3 nights at this hotel. So let's say you pick this one. So now if we take our 60 for the flights, which are up here, right? So if we take these 60 and these 54, this puts us at 104,000 points. If you and a significant other or a friend want to fly out to Salt Lake City, stay right by 2 mountains that you could go ski or snowboard. You got to obviously listen. You got to get like all the other shit, whether you have a pass or you have to rent gear, whatever. It's actually like insane how expensive the hobby of ski and snowboarding is to get started. I guess it's like golf. You got to get all the equipment and stuff. But just to get there and to stay there, this is going to cost you 104,000 points, which could come from the bonus of 1 card. Keep that in mind, 1 card. And now you got a snowboard trip that's pretty much probably like half of the cost at least is going to be paid for, depending on what passes look like, or if you already have a pass and gear. If you already have that stuff, it could be really cheap. You're basically paying for food. And that's pretty much it. Maybe a rental car, because this isn't that close to the airport. You'd have to drive probably 45 minutes to an hour to get to here from Salt Lake City. So, but a vast majority of your trip is paid for, and that's for 2 people to go out and actually do that. So really cool trip, fairly easy one to set up as well, from multiple different areas that you could fly in. I showed the DC area. I showed Atlanta, but you could see many different examples. And if you're even closer, let's say you're on the West Coast, it would actually cost you even fewer points because the flights are going to be cheaper. It's shorter distances, so they're not going to be as expensive. So 100,000 points roughly for 2 people to go on a snowboard trip to Park City, and a big chunk of the travel cost of that paid for. Pretty awesome. Something I would really like to do, something I have done with my family. It was fantastic. And you're creating these memory dividends. Like, keep this in mind. When you do things like this, you're creating these cool memories with friends and family that if you're taking pictures and you see those again, like, you're gonna remember all of the cool experiences you had, the fun things. Sometimes the not so fun things are actually more memorable as well. Like my car getting hit, it was not fun at the time, but we kind of laugh about it now. But like, these are things that I think are worth really putting the effort in to try to do with your friends and family, because it's so impactful, not just in your life, but in the lives of the other people that you're around. And you have a really cool opportunity to accumulate these points and share that with folks. So let's look at an example of an international flight, because this is like so cost prohibitive. I mean, Jesus, dude, if you want to fly to like Europe or something like that, it can be so expensive. And again, this depends on where you're at, what hub you're at, different airlines, and this can feel daunting. And obviously I'm scratching the surface on some of this, but I'm just trying to give you some examples of how this can be a beneficial way of using these points that you're going to accumulate anyway through the business. But I'm going to show you an example of flying to and from Paris. So this is from Atlanta to Paris, and this is something I've actually done for my wife's birthday last year. I sent her and her 2 sister-in-laws to Paris to go to like Christmas markets over there. Just have an awesome time for a few days with her and her 2 sister-in-laws, and they had a great time, and I paid for it with points. And again, this is like my favorite thing to do for friends and family, because it's like such a cool thing to do for them. They may, again, like not have the resources to do it. It also, it's just like, I take it off their plate. It's like, I got it, I'll book it. Like, I got you guys. And then I send them there and they get to have an awesome time. So for you can kind of think about the same thing, is like, where would you like to go? And then where does that fit with being able to use points to get you there? That way you're not spending your money on it, because it can be very, very expensive. This is a really cool way to be able to travel without the massive expense. So this is an example of flying Air France. And again, you can kind of see here. So like I mentioned, Air France and Delta are partners. So right here, Delta, this is actually a Delta flight. And if you look at this Delta flight's actually 29,000 points. And then this Air France flight, which, I mean, they leave and get in at almost exactly the same time. They're the same duration of time. One leaves at, 3:45, gets in at 6:15. One leaves at 4:30 and gets in at 7. It's basically the same flight, right? But one of these is 29,000 points, the Delta one. The Air France one, 18,750 points. It's like significantly less, right? So, and the other thing that you have is you have a fee, and flying in and out of Europe, they will charge you like more fuel fees, surcharge fees, and stuff like that. It's one of the reasons why it is so expensive to fly in and out of certain countries. But this is 18,750 points plus $165. Okay. So sometimes you don't get that on the way back. Sometimes you do. It depends where you're flying in and out of. But on the way back, we can fly back. This is, by the way, August 15th to August 22nd of this year. So just as an example, this is a really popular time to travel to. August for travel to Europe is a very busy month. So this is a really good points reimbursement for what this flight would cost. So if on the way back, again, it's going to be 18,750 points. So 18,750 points plus, it looks like another $165. So let's just call it 300 and some change. So maybe $320 total, plus is going to cost you, roughly 37,000 points. Around 37,000 points and about $300. So for a flight that you're probably looking at, it would cost you around $1,000 at least to fly there and back. And again, this is a direct flight on 2 pretty good airlines. So this is a really cool way to use that, because now you could say, okay, well, if I have 100,000 points, that's 37,000 points to fly one person. So if there's 2 of you, it's going to be 74K in points. So 74,000 points to fly 2 people direct from Atlanta to Paris and back during a very busy month, a very expensive month to fly there. And then again, this is the coolest part about all this is like, you can use these points you're going to accumulate because you're spending money on ads, you're spending money on travel for business, you're spending money on groceries for yourself and your family. And all of a sudden you look up and you're like, oh my God, I have hundreds of thousands of points. How did that happen? And it's because you're just using cards for things you're going to buy anyway. And you get these cool bonus categories. So it is very possible to generate, hundreds of thousands of points in a relatively short period of time and be able to do really, really cool trips. And you can use Hyatt points or Chase points to book Hyatt hotels all over Europe. You can look at their website and see all the places they have hotels. There's a lot. And it just depends where you're trying to go, right? So like, be creative. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to take family? Where have you been that you want to experience? Like what is a place that you'd like to visit? Or where does your family live that you can now use this to fly back and forth and save on expenses you're going to have anyway, because these points are accumulating through your business and personal cards. So this is just an example. For 74,000 points, you can get 2 people round trip to and from Paris during a busy season. And you still have, all these other points left over you could use for hotels if you want to do that. If you want to stay in Airbnb, I prefer to do that, honestly. Like if I'm going to go and stay somewhere for more than a few days, I'd rather stay in an Airbnb. It's more comfortable for me. I can like go to the grocery store, get food. I like that. I get kind of like, feels a little bit more like I'm just kind of experiencing the culture more than staying in a hotel. But sometimes if you have a short flight, or if you want to be close to some place like the mountain, like in Salt Lake City, hotel makes a ton of sense, way more sense than trying to book an Airbnb, which can be so expensive in a lot of places. So this is a really cool example of an international option. All right. So if we look at the summary of this, all right, because this can feel like a lot, but I'm telling you, it's not. You're paying for stuff anyway. You might as well put it on a business card. You're paying for stuff personally. You might as well put it on a personal card. And the byproduct of this is, you're going to get these points for things you're going to pay for anyway. They're just going to accumulate because you're going to pay for them anyway. So it's not like you're like spending money on these. And for minimal fees on some of these cards, $95 a year for these 2 cards, just the freaking auto insurance alone on rental cars. I mean, that saved me that was like 10 years worth of me paying the fee on the card to have that insurance. That's just a part of the card as a benefit. You're going to have to pay these cards off though. So what are the drawbacks? The only time I've seen people get really screwed up with this is when they don't pay the dang card off. Okay. So they don't pay the card off and they get themselves into really big trouble. Because the fees on these, the percentage of of interest rates, it's like 28%, and the late fees are I think it's like $35 per late fee. So all of a sudden you start having late fees and you have compounding interest the wrong direction, and you are just like in a bad spot. So the only way I recommend somebody do this is if you are disciplined enough to pay your card off every single month. If you're not going to do it, please don't do this. Okay, this is a great way to put yourself into debt. If you are disciplined enough to just pay your card off, which especially the business should be paying that shit off every single month, please. Like that, unless you're going through some crazy growth cycle and you have cash flow management issues for a short period of time, I get it. But like you should be paying that thing off every single month personally as well. That's the most important thing. And then the best way to use these is travel partners. Please don't get cash back. It's not worth it. You can get cash back cards that'll literally give you more percent than the cards that I recommended. If you want to go that route, then just get a card that's going to be straight cash back. Also, don't book through their travel portals through the actual cards. Don't go to Chase, don't go to Amex and book, your flight, your hotel, whatever. It is the most inefficient way to do it. And if you ever have to make a change, it's a freaking nightmare. Like I've had to do this. It sucked. I've had friends that have done the same thing. It sucks. You're much better off just transferring those points directly to the hotel. And that's it. And then you don't have to deal with one person. You deal with the hotel, you deal with the airline directly. You don't have to deal with the credit card company. And then they're the intermediate, or intermediary for the whatever group that you're trying to work with, whether it's an airline or it's a hotel. Don't do it. Just book directly through the partners by transferring directly to them. And then the last thing, man, have freaking fun. Like running a business is hard. Okay. If anybody tells you this shit is easy, they're lying to you. They're probably trying to sell you some bullshit. It is not easy. It's not for everybody. Not everybody should do it. And there's people that are going to fail at this because it's challenging and it just wears you down. Okay. The silver lining to this. Obviously, there's a lot of benefits to a business: time, financial freedom, impact, doing things the way that you want, being able to be creative, all that. There's negatives too. It's freaking hard. It's stressful. You can fail. You can go bankrupt. Like, it could not work out. These things happen. But one of the coolest byproducts of this is that you get to accumulate credit card points, which allow you to travel around the country, around the world for free. Think about that for a second. How awesome is that? And you know what? You probably see people sometimes. You're probably on Instagram. And you're like, how does this person always, like, how are they able to go to wherever, right? Like, how are they in freaking Italy again? What's going on? I bet you they're probably doing something like this, right? And or they inherited money. Who knows? But travel's expensive. You know, even for people that make a lot of money, it's super expensive. And it's such a great way for you to not have to pay for the most expensive parts of travel, which are flying there and staying there, right? In a hotel. And it's awesome. And there's some really cool hotels in really cool places that you could just go for a weekend with your spouse, your friend, your brother, your sister, whatever, and experience the world with them without them having to pay for it. And there's no stigma around it. I mean, it's just literally like a little byproduct. You can just tell them, like, look, I'm not even paying for this. This is credit card points. Don't worry about it. Just come hang out. Let's have fun. And that is such a fun thing to do. It's one of the most rewarding things that I've gotten from a business, as odd as that might sound. Using a credit card to gain points to then use on travel. Like, I don't know, it's kind of hard to grasp that sometimes, but think of it this way. I've taken more friends and family on trips that they have not had to pay for, haven't even had to think about. Like, don't worry about it, man. I got it. Just come, just be with us, just have fun. And I tell you what, how about you can pay for dinner one night, we call it even, right? Like, that's it. That's all they got to do. And they get to come and experience the world with you, experience our country with you in such a unique way that isn't cost prohibitive to you or them. That's a fucking win, huge win. And I'm telling you, if you do this the right way, you're not even going to notice that, you're not even going to feel like you have the pressure of like credit card debt or anything like that, because you're just using it for expenses you're going to have anyway. And you pay it off at the end of every week or every month, just like you would pay for anything. You're just running it through a card that allows you to accumulate this interesting byproduct of points that then you can use to travel and experience the world in a really cool, unique way. So I highly recommend that everybody actually like use these. If you're not using these, apply for these cards. Do it at a time when you can have like something to pay for. So whether it's personally, you're doing something personally, it's going to cost some money. Time it with that so you get these minimum spends taken care of. Because this is what's tricky. This is how they probably win, to be honest with you. You know, if you're like, oh, 100,000 points sounds cool, but I got to spend $5,000 in 3 months. Well, if you know you have these big purchases coming up, these big things you got to pay for, then cool. That's all you got to do is just line it up with that. You hit the minimum and then you're off the races. You start getting these different categories. And if you look at, you know, the business side, it's just, what are you going to buy on the business side that aligns with this? The business ones are usually, they're a higher amount of the minimum to get the bonus. But we have a lot of expenses. So whether that's equipment or sending people on different, you know, to different courses or whatever, things you're going to do, consulting fees, things you're going to add to reinvest in the business, get, you know, maybe website build out, something like that. Like all these things you can pay for, and then you hit the minimum and you're good. So you just got to be intelligent about when you're doing it. And you'll be able to get the minimums and then be able to use the card on a monthly basis for the categories you're going to get bonus categories with, and quickly accumulate hundreds of thousands of points to literally travel around the country and the world without paying much money at all, which is pretty awesome unlock for anybody that is interested in traveling. So I hope this helps you. I hope this is something that, you know, you gain some value from. This is something that I talk to people about all the time, and I really haven't put much out on that because there's a lot of resources out there. If you go on YouTube or just if you go on Google and just type in credit card points, I mean, there's so much out there. It can actually be overwhelming. So hopefully this just narrows it down for you. I think if you just get one personal card, one business card, and you just stick to that, you don't have to go crazy and get a dozen different cards like I did back in the day. It was very stressful. You can just keep it real simple and you can still get the benefit of it. So anyway, Thanks so much for listening. Thanks for watching. Again, if you listen to this on the podcast and you feel kind of lost, go to the YouTube channel and make sure you watch the walkthrough, because I'm recording this on my iPad so you can see exactly what I'm talking about with screenshots of different offers and different hotels and flights that I actually picked out. And then you probably get a better idea of what I'm talking about and how to use it. So as always, thanks so much for listening. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.